There are moments in life when everything seems to pause. You feel as though you've been walking down a long hallway, surrounded by closed doors, waiting for just one of them to open. The silence becomes heavy, the doubt grows louder, and you begin to wonder if perhaps you've been forgotten. But as Alan Watts would gently remind us, the universe is not indifferent. What feels like stagnation is often a divine rhythm, preparing you for a doorway you are not ready to walk through before. Right now, whether you realize it or not, something ancient and sacred is aligning for you. You see, life is not random. It moves like a great tide, carrying you toward experiences and revelations at the exact moment you're ready to receive them. What's often said that the universe plays hide and seek with us, concealing purpose not to torment, but to awaken. The struggle, the delay, the quiet ache you felt, these are not punishments. They are signals. They are preparation. When one chapter feels impossibly heavy, it is because a new one is gathering strength behind the curtain of the unseen. And perhaps you've noticed this subtle shift, the way certain people are drifting away, old habits losing meaning, opportunities whispering at the edge of your awareness. This isn't coincidence. It's the slow turning of the cosmic wheel. God does not open doors when we beg. Doors open when we've grown into the person capable of walking through them. The universe does not respond to impatience. It responds to alignment. The tension you felt is simply the friction of transformation. Alan Watts taught that resistance is what makes us suffer. When we cling to familiar rooms just because they're comfortable, we block the very doorway we've been praying for. But the moment we soften, the moment we trust, everything begins to flow. The signs become clearer. The path unfolds. The divine whisper grows louder. Right when you think life is falling apart, it is often falling into place. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped trying to control what was never yours to command. So if you're hearing this now, understand, this is not an accident. This is the intersection of spirit and timing. The door you thought would never open is already unlocking. The chapter you thought was ending is quietly transforming into something greater. Let go of fear, breathe into the unknown, and step forward with faith. God is moving your story, even in the silence. And the moment you surrender to that truth, the next door opens. There inevitably comes a period where life feels painfully still. You look around and nothing seems to move forward. Opportunities stall, relationships drift, motivation fades. Yet Alan Watts would remind us that silence is not emptiness. It is incubation. Just as a seed must rest beneath the soil before breaking into sunlight, your spirit is preparing beneath the surface. What appears to be inactivity is often sacred rearrangement. The universe is quietly aligning circumstances that your mind cannot yet see, and forcing the door open before its time only leads to rooms you are not ready to enter. During these moments, doubt becomes loud. You begin to question if you've missed your chance, if perhaps you've taken the wrong path. But Watts emphasized that you cannot make a wrong turn in a universe where everything is interconnected. Even detours are part of the dance. The illusion of being off track comes from forgetting that growth often looks like stillness. When nothing external changes, everything internal begins to evolve. The hallway is not punishment, it is preparation. Patience in this context is not passive waiting, it is active trust. Alan Watts compared life to music. If we only listened for the final note, we would miss the entire song. This waiting season is a verse in your symphony, a pause before the crescendo. Every closed door you have faced was a redirection, teaching you resilience, sharpening your intuition, and refining your desires. Without this waiting, you wouldn't recognize the right door when it appears. As time stretches on, the ego becomes restless. It craves certainty and control, insisting that if nothing is happening, something must be wrong. But Watts taught that control is an illusion designed to protect the ego from change. The universe rarely speaks in certainty. It speaks in subtle nudges, coincidences, and whispers. Those who truly awaken learn to listen not with anxious minds, but with quiet hearts. In the silence, life is speaking more loudly than ever. So when the door seems silent, don't panic. Life is not denying you. It is shaping you. The universe is waiting for you to grow into a version of yourself capable of handling what lies behind the next threshold. Every unanswered prayer is simply timing rearranging itself into alignment. When the moment is right, the door will open effortlessly, and you will understand why it had to remain closed until now. Behind every breakthrough lies a process the eye cannot see. In nature, nothing blooms out of season. The same is true for your life. Alan Watts often described the universe as a grand organism, where every element works in perfect harmony. When you feel delayed, it's because the universe is synchronizing multiple moving parts on your behalf. What looks like waiting from your perspective is timing from a wider view. You are not late, you are being aligned. Consider how often you grew the most during moments of pressure. These seasons removed people who could not walk through the next door with you, dissolve habits that would sabotage your future, and reshape beliefs that limited your vision. Watts would say that clinging to what is familiar prevents us from evolving into our true form. Before God opens the next door, He gently removes what you would have dragged unnecessarily into the room. The emptiness you feel is space being cleared. Growth rarely feels graceful. It often arrives disguised as discomfort, the job that ends unexpectedly, the friendship that fades, the dream that dissolves. But every unraveling has purpose. Watts taught that letting go is not loss. It is participation in the flow of life. When you release what is outdated, you create energetic room for what is destined. The universe cannot deliver new blessings to hands still gripping the old. During this preparation, your intuition sharpens. You begin to sense subtle shifts, a gentle pull, a quiet excitement, an unexplainable peace. These are signs that your frequency is rising. Watts believed that when your inner world transforms, your outer world must follow. Doors don't open because you force them. They open because you grew into the person who belongs on the other side. Destiny responds to alignment, not desperation. So, trust the unseen. Trust the delay. Trust the internal rearrangement. God is not making you wait. He is making you ready. And when readiness meets destiny, doors don't merely open. They swing wide, as if the universe has been expecting you. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared for a room built specifically for who you are becoming. There are seasons when life begins to peel away pieces of your world, gently or suddenly, without asking your permission. People drift, jobs end, routines collapse, and dreams once held tightly begin to dissolve. To the mind, this feels like loss. But Alan Watts taught that the universe often removes what we cling to, not to punish us, but to free us. What you interpret as life falling apart is sometimes life falling into place. The closed door you mourn may be the very thing preventing you from stepping into who you're meant to become. Letting go doesn't happen by force. It happens by realization. Realization that the things which leave you are making space for something more aligned. Watts would often remind us that clinging is a form of fear, and fear keeps us trapped in old rooms long after the light has gone out. The universe will not allow you to stay in spaces that shrink your soul. When you refuse to move, it will move you, not out of cruelty, but out of deep, cosmic love. During these transitions, confusion becomes loud. You search for meaning in the rubble, asking why life would take what you valued. But look closely, and you'll notice this pattern. Everything removed carried weight you no longer needed. Like pruning a tree in winter, the cutting feels harsh, but it's the only way new branches can bloom. Watts said that the pain of letting go is the breaking of our attachment to illusions. What is real will remain. What leaves was already complete. As you release, something shifts. Nervousness slowly melts into relief. Anxiety softens into clarity. You begin to see that endings aren't enemies. They are doorways disguised. The universe will always replace what was lost with what is better aligned with your spirit. And although the path may seem lonely for a while, loneliness is simply the silence before a new chapter speaks. Every person who exits is clearing space for someone who fits the next version of your story. So when life begins to remove, do not chase. Do not cling. Trust that what departs does so with purpose. Because on the other side of surrender is expansion. And once your hands are empty, they are finally free to receive. The universe doesn't respond to wanting. It responds to becoming. Many pray for open doors, yet remain anchored to old mindsets, outdated identities, and habits that echo who they used to be. Alan Watts taught that transformation is not something you chase. It unfolds when you stop pretending. When you release the version of yourself shaped by fear, comparison, and expectation, the world mirrors the shift. Suddenly, doors appear where walls once stood, because reality reflects the consciousness that perceives it. Think of a locked door not as rejection, but as protection. You might have approached that threshold carrying doubt, insecurity, or beliefs too small for the room on the other side. If you had walked through prematurely, you would have sabotaged what was meant to elevate you. Watts believed that timing is the intelligence of the universe. The door stays closed until you grow into someone who can handle what waits behind it. Not a moment earlier, not a moment later. The process of becoming is subtle. You notice it in new boundaries, quiet confidence, and an inner knowing that no longer seeks validation. You stop rushing. You stop forcing. You stop negotiating your worth. Like a flower opening naturally to sunlight, you bloom into alignment. And alignment is the language destiny understands. It is not about effort. It is about resonance. When you become the person who belongs in the next room, the lock simply dissolves. As this transformation deepens, you will feel the shift. Anxiety is replaced by curiosity. Fear is replaced by calm. Instead of chasing signs, you begin to become one. Others notice the glow before you do, a softness in your voice, a certainty in your gaze. This is when the universe begins to rearrange itself around you. Opportunities find you organically. Synchronicities appear without explanation. What once felt impossible becomes natural. And then, without warning, the door opens. Not because you begged, but because you blossomed. Not because you forced destiny, but because you aligned with it. Watts would smile here and say, "The only thing that ever stands between you and what you desire is who you think you are." When you shed that illusion, the universe responds. Because the moment you become who you were always meant to be, the door was always ready. It was waiting for you. There are moments when life whispers instead of speaks. A recurring number, a sudden thought, a conversation overheard at the exact second you needed it. Most dismiss these experiences as coincidence, but Alan Watts taught that coincidence is the universe winking. Signs are not magic tricks. They are reflections of your inner state projected outward. When you are aligned, the world becomes responsive. Doors begin to glow, and what once felt random now feels orchestrated with impossible precision. But signs don't appear to make decisions for you. They appear to confirm the decisions your soul already made. Watts would remind us that intuition is simply the voice of the universe filtered through your nervous system. When your heart pulls you towards something you cannot explain with logic, that pull is the sign. The confusion arises when we wait for permission from life instead of listening to the quiet compass already inside us. Signs don't guide from the outside. They echo from within. Often, we notice signs most intensely when we're nearing a threshold. The universe grows louder, not to push you, but to soothe your fear of stepping forward. You'll see doors begin to crack open in subtle ways. Unexpected messages, chance encounters, sudden clarity. Watts believed the universe plays hide-and-seek with itself through us. The signs are breadcrumbs leading you back home, not to a physical place, but to the state of being you lost along the way. Yet, signs require presence. When you rush, worry, or live inside your head, you miss the gentle nudges happening all around you. Life becomes noisy, but when you slow down, soften, and breathe, the world begins to speak in symbols. Music lyrics aligned with your thoughts. Dreams that answer questions you never voiced. Doors that open the moment you stop banging on them. The universe communicates fluently with the still-hearted. So, pay attention. Not with anxious eyes, but with awakened awareness. The door you're waiting for doesn't swing suddenly. It begins with whispers, with alignment, with clues only a quiet, trusting soul can hear. And the moment you follow them, the hallway lights up. Signs are not there to convince you. They are there to remind you that you already know. In a culture obsessed with urgency, waiting feels unbearable. We're conditioned to believe that faster is better, that delayed results mean failure. But Alan Watts offered a radical truth. The universe doesn't operate on human schedules. Divine timing is not about convenience. It's about readiness. A door opened too early becomes a burden. Opened too late, it becomes a longing. But opened at the precise moment of alignment, it becomes destiny. Think of a fruit ripening on a tree. If you force it open too soon, it's bitter. If you wait too long, it rots. Life works in the same organic cycles. Your dreams are not denied. They are ripening. Divine timing is the slow, invisible chemistry happening behind the scenes, synchronizing people, places, ideas, and miracles. When the conditions are perfect, the moment arrives effortlessly. What would say that nothing blooms in winter, yet nothing can stop spring? The frustration you feel during the waiting season is not wasted emotion. It is pressure forging patience, and patience is what keeps you steady when the door swings wide. Without it, you crumble under the weight of what you once begged for. Divine timing protects you not just from loss, but from collapse. It ensures you don't receive a blessing you are emotionally unequipped to carry. God doesn't withhold. He prepares. And preparation is often uncomfortable. You'll meet closed doors that feel unfair. But those closures are sacred, each one shaping you, strengthening you, sculpting your character into something unshakable. What's described this as the universe playing a game with itself, pushing you to your edges just before the breakthrough, teasing you into awareness. Every time you grow tired, consider this. Pressure increases right before water boils. When the timing finally aligns, you won't need to force anything. Doors will open with such ease that you'll wonder why you ever doubted. The right opportunity won't require convincing. The right people won't need chasing. The right moment won't need explanation. You will simply step forward, and everything will click into place with the satisfying certainty of destiny fulfilled. Divine timing is not late. It is exact. And when your frequency matches your future, the door will open as naturally as dawn. There comes a time when the room you once felt comfortable in begins to feel small. The conversations that used to excite you start sounding hollow. The habits that once brought comfort feel draining. This isn't dissatisfaction, it's evolution. Alan Watts taught that the self is not static. It is a continuous unfolding. When your spirit grows, the space around you must expand too. And when it doesn't, life begins to nudge you, gently at first, then with undeniable force, toward the door you were always meant to walk through. This feeling of outgrowing your environment can be unsettling. You may feel guilty for wanting more, or anxious about leaving what's familiar. But what's explained that identity is a costume we must occasionally shed. What fit you yesterday may suffocate you today. Growth demands courage. If you wait for comfort to bless your transformation, you'll remain trapped in rooms you've spiritually outgrown. The discomfort you feel is not failure. It's evidence of awakening. As you expand internally, you'll notice relationships begin shifting. Some people will not understand your growth. Not because you've become distant, but because you've moved into a frequency they can't yet hear. This isn't abandonment. It's resonance. What's observed that people meet and part like waves. Each interaction purposeful, each separation sacred. When you cling to what's fading, you weigh yourself down. But when you release gently, you rise. The universe responds to expansion. New people enter your life with conversations that feel like oxygen. Opportunities arrive that match your new vibration. Doors crack open simply because you're no longer too afraid to step out of the old ones. The more you honor who you are becoming, the more aligned your external world becomes. Growth isn't loud. It's quiet, subtle, and often misunderstood. But its rewards are undeniable. So when your spirit outgrows the room, don't apologize. Don't shrink. Don't dim. The walls feel closer not because you're stuck, but because you're ready to move. And the moment you stop resisting, you'll notice the doorknob glowing with possibility. Life never limits. Only fear does. There's a precise moment when everything shifts, not gradually, but suddenly. It feels like the air changes. The heaviness lifts. The path clears. What once felt impossible becomes obvious. Alan Watts believed that breakthroughs are not random. They're the natural climax of unseen transformation. Once your inner world aligns, the outer world simply reflects it. Doors swing open not because you learn a new trick, but because you became a new version of yourself. You'll recognize this moment by how effortless it feels. The opportunity that once required begging now invites you. The relationship that once ignored you now sees you. The dream that once felt distant now sits at your feet, waiting patiently. There is no strain in destiny, only in resistance. What's often compared this to water finding its level. Once you remove the barriers, flow is inevitable. And when it flows, it's unstoppable. In this moment, fear fades into excitement. Doubt melts into clarity. You no longer need to justify your path because it validates itself. People around you may call it luck, but you'll know better. You'll know it was the culmination of every closed door, every tear, every sleepless night, every leap of faith. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. It all led here, to this doorway, at this exact moment. And here's the twist. When the door opens, it will feel strangely familiar. This is because destiny is not foreign. It's home. The vision you once carried quietly in your heart now stands fully formed, as if the universe was waiting for you to remember it. What would say this is the moment when the dreamer realizes they were also the dream. The divine and the human meet, and the separation dissolves. So when the door swings open, walk through without hesitation. Do not question your worthiness. You are not lucky. You are aligned. You are not chosen. You chose by becoming. And from this point forward, life will reveal itself in ways you never imagined possible. Because the moment you step through that door, you are no longer waiting for a sign. You are living as one. As you look back on every waiting season you have endured, you begin to see the pattern with new eyes. Each closed door was not rejection, but redirection. Each moment of silence was sacred preparation. Alan Watts would say that you were never wandering in darkness. You were simply adjusting to the light of who you were becoming. And now, as life shifts beneath your feet, you can feel it. This is not coincidence. This is divine timing converging with awakened awareness. The door you once feared would never open has been whispering your name all along. When you embrace the truth that life unfolds through you, not to you, fear loses its grip. You stop demanding answers from the universe and begin participating in its rhythm. The anxiety that once clouded your vision melts into clarity, and clarity gives birth to courage. What's taught that the moment you surrender control, the universe responds with flow. Suddenly, what felt impossible becomes effortless. The path clears not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Alignment is the silent language destiny understands. Every relationship that shifted, every habit you released, every doubt you overcame, they were the sculpting tools of transformation. You are stepping into a chapter that requires the version of yourself forged through every challenge you survived. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Every experience was a brick laid beneath your feet, building the path that leads to this door. And now, as your hand reaches for the handle, you are no longer the person who once begged for it to open. You are the person who was always waiting for. So take a breath. Feel the weight of this moment. Allow yourself to trust that you are ready. When you walk through this door, walk boldly. Walk joyfully. Walk without apology for the space you are meant to fill. The universe does not place dreams in your heart as decoration. They are invitations. Invitations to become, to expand, to remember. And when you answer them, you step into a reality shaped not by fear, but by awareness. This is the moment you stop waiting for signs and start living as one. Because your very existence is proof that possibility remains infinite. And if this message resonated with your spirit, let it echo beyond this screen. Share your reflection in the comments below, because your words might be the sign someone else is waiting for. Subscribe and stay close. There are more doors ahead, and none of you should walk through them alone. Like this video if it illuminated something inside you. And remember, every closed chapter holds the quiet promise of a new beginning. The next door is opening. Step through.